Hello and welcome to Economic Forum, where we discuss various issues affecting our economy in Zimbabwe. These can be issues to do with manufacturing, with tourism, with agriculture, with education. We discuss them here in order to see how these issues, which can have a commercial, scientific or artistic inclination, can affect our economy. My name is John Masugu. The month of March is celebrated as the Women's Month, and the 8th of March actually is celebrated as the Women's Day. And in order to wind up activities for the month, we decided to have a microscopic look at where we've come from with regards to the development of women, especially in the economy and in business. And in that regard, we have invited someone who has been in business, an entrepreneur who has been in business as a woman for the last 35 or so years, and that's Florence Sachikonye. Florence, welcome to Economic Forum.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Mr. Masuku.
35 years is quite a long time. Tell us about your journey very briefly before we actually ask you to give us an overview of what you have been seeing from your corner with regards to the hurdles that you as women have had to overcome in order to come to where you are. Some, like you and others, have gone a stage higher. So where have you come from? Who is Florence Sachikonye, and what has landed you here?
Well, thank you. Very briefly, I did my education in the UK. And when I came back home, this was in 1982. Prior to that, I was working in a boutique in London, part-time jobs. And I realized the potential of the clothing business. I got to know more about it, where you order goods, how you mark them up, how you sell them, etc. And that was a skill that I wanted to bring back home and utilize if I had the opportunity. And when I did come back, I worked for radio and TV, but I also found that I had the chance to follow my passion. And that's when I got into the clothing field. And I started to build myself from there step by step.
Yes. In order to catapult yourself into this business, what contribution did the media make? Your brief experience in radio and TV.
Oh, it was enormous because I had contacts, I had networks, I was well known, I dressed up for my programs, I made different clients, and definitely I gathered quite a following.
We're going to be discussing about your observations with regards to how women have risen to where they are now. But let's look at your own circumstances. You took the risk of saying, look here, I'm leaving formal employment and I'm going into my own business. What are some of the challenges that you faced during the time when you were opening, challenges that you also saw other women facing and eventually maybe overcoming or still to overcome?
At that time I was single. I had no children, I had no responsibilities. So whatever I earned was my own. So I was fortunate in that I could make decisions over my own finances. In addition, my family was very supportive, and particularly my mother. She helped to finance me and to also introduce me to people who mattered, whether it was bank managers, bank references, etc., etc. And I found that all accumulated to worthy capital.
Yes. It may have been easy for you, Florence, because over and above the support that you received from family, you were also now coming from a public background as a media practitioner on radio and TV. But what was it like, way back, we're talking of 35 years, those were the formative years of independence. What was it like for women in general to actually leave their jobs and pursue business as entrepreneurs?
Well, business, I think, at whatever era, at whatever level, is never easy. Yeah. You have to be well focused on what you want to do. You have to be very decided on your trajectory. You also have to be a people's person because you must talk to people. You must sell your product. You can't afford to say, I don't like people, I don't want to talk to people today. It's part of the marketing strategy. And using the networks that I had built up in broadcasting, that was very useful. People also feel that when you get into business, you just arrive and then the doors will open. No. You have to open your own doors. You have to sell your brand and convince people why they should buy from you and not from the other person. So a lot of people miss that. They just feel they can go to China, buy some products, and then people come and buy. It doesn't work like that. Then they get disappointed and they feel that they're not getting the support or they're unlucky and so forth. Whereas a lot more that you have to put into the business.
Yes. How about stereotypes which have been existent over the years? How did you overcome that, and how did you see women overcoming them over the years?
Stereotypes are difficult because we come from a culture where women are not primary, we are secondary. So that is one stereotype. We also come from a culture of colonialism where the Caucasian woman, for example, was behind her man. That's another example. We come from a culture where if as a woman I stand up, so you have to find ways to manage and to overcome those hurdles. In fact, not to see it as a hurdle, still be heard, still stand up and say what you need to say, but I think it's now how you manage yourself and the information. And to get that respect, you have to get respect.
That's Florence Sachikonye, an entrepreneur who is telling us her story of how she went into business after being a media practitioner, and how also she has seen women rising in businesses. That's what we're talking about today in Economic Forum. So join us in the second segment of the program. Well, as we wrap up the month of women, which is March, we are looking or taking stock at how far they've gone, how they've succeeded. You know, they've come a long way, especially in some of the business issues that they were not originally involved in. And we've got an entrepreneur here, Florence Sachikonye, who herself decided to leave formal employment and go into business. And as she said in the first segment, assisted here and there by family, and also took the horns by herself. Now, gender bias has always been there, it has always been observed. How have you seen it, over the years as you operated as a woman entrepreneur?
I think the best quote I can give is tennis player Martina Navratilova, right? When she won the women championships, somebody asked her how she felt as a woman and how she did it. And her answer, which I love best, says, the ball and the racket didn't know I was a woman, but I won. So sometimes gender bias is a mental thing. It's not really there, or it's a perception. Or it's a perception that people try to push so that you buy into it and then it takes you back or holds you back. Because when I go to my bank manager, for example, and I ask for a loan, he's not looking whether I'm a male or female. He's looking at my account, my performance. How does he rate me? What is my ability? What is my capital base? What are my title deeds, for example? It's not about women or being a woman. Because if it is, then that is prejudice. And I think anybody's free to take it to a higher level. So I think the gender bias may be there in other sectors, right? But sometimes it's used and abused, but it's not always there. It's a perception. That is in my view. Because I've never seen or known a manager who would not give me money and say, you know what, everything you tick the boxes, but you're a woman and I can't give you money. They want money. They want to make money. And money has no male or female. So really for me to put it down to a gender bias, I don't agree with that. No.
Do you think, a very, very interesting thought that you've got, do you think it has sunk into many women, including those who actually are activists in that area, to appreciate that at times it can be abused instead of advancing women?
Now, I definitely agree to that. Because when the bank manager declines your loan application, for example, he must write you a letter to tell you the reasons, so that it gives you an opportunity to correct whatever it is that you had not got right. But he'll never say, because you're a female. So it's unwritten, it's unsaid, but it's the thought. So if you carry away that thought, you must be able to come back and say, listen, I do tick all the boxes, and you need to review my application, why you've refused me. But we have to be honest sometimes and say, you know what, I didn't make the mark. I didn't make the grade. But you go and improve on whatever they've told you, and then you come back and you know you're worthy, you will get that loan.
Yes, we're talking about loans, and what really we are engaged in is access to capital.
Yes.
Is it easy, to get, capital to establish your own business? You've told us about the boxes that are ticked in order for you to pass. But generally, women starting from where they were, was it easy for them to get that capital?
When we talk about 35 years ago, I will say relatively it was easy. Easy in the sense that you really had a one-to-one relationship with your manager, right? The economy was fluid, it was exciting, there were so many possibilities, there were so many opportunities for one to make money or to access money. There were various EU funds, grants, that sort of thing. You just needed to know your direction. But now, because the economy is in a bit of a meltdown, in a crutch, yes, it's more difficult to access money. So when you don't access money, it's not personal. We have to look around us, what is happening, right? And also, what is it that you want to do? Is your project viable? So when you come in and say, because I want to do nails, or because I want to do hair, I'm not belittling those trades in any way, not at all. But I'm just saying, you are against somebody who wants to set up a multi-million-dollar irrigation project, for example, or building a construction site. So when you're comparing yourself and that person, the attention the bank will give you obviously is very different, and you need to accept that. And also you need to go to a bank manager to convince him why you need 50,000 instead of 10,000. Because long ago people take a loan, say for 50,000, and they buy a car. When it's time to repay the loan, they can't afford it. They can't afford it, and therefore it causes other ripple effects, problems, not just of you, the individual, it's your business, your staff, and your families. So we have to take cognizance of that, whether you're a man or whether you're a woman. It's not specific to women.
Mm-hmm. I see a lot of the power of positive thinking in most of your responses. Is this what was in existence during the time when you started your business, or some of these issues or perceptions were actually overriding on women's successes, thinking that it was 100% gender bias, or they would not get capital because they were women, or there were those who also saw opportunities like you did?
Yeah, I saw opportunities, and I still see opportunities. But it depends where the person is coming from. So it's not just the glamour that you see from the outside, and the perception that you say, well, she went in there, and then in 6 months she did this, whatever. It's a hard work you put in. And when you're in business, it's non-stop hard work. How many times I've had to forego personal invitations because I have to go to work. So many people can't do that. But those are the sacrifices you make. You have to go many things in your home, where you don't buy full grocery, you buy half grocery, because you have to put this money towards rent and other priority issues of your business. But some people don't see it that way. They just feel that now that I'm in business, if I spend $100 on grocery, now I can spend $200. When it's not like that. The moment you're in business, you're actually spending less. So we have to take cognizance of what you want to do with the money, right? And do it correctly so that you're able to repay and be able to grow your business and move on.
You talked about some of the opportunities that were there. What was the issue of collateral like, and how did it affect women, as time went on from the time you started?
Look, collateral was real because they would expect you to place something down. But that's also depending on the amount of money that you're asking for. Obviously, if you're asking for $500,000, you must put collateral. It's understood. And you should not be offended about it. But if you're putting 10,000 down, obviously the bank manager can be amenable to you, but it's back to your relationship with the bank, with the manager, and how you run your account. Someone may take 10,000 over 2 years, you may take 10,000 over 6 months. Obviously, they'd rather prefer you with 10,000 over 6 months, and you come to an arrangement with the bank. So collateral, I think it goes with the amount of money you're seeking, what you want to do in business, and the risk of the business. Is this a charted or uncharted territory? Do they believe in you? Have you done this before? Is it your first time? You see, if I go to my bank manager for the first time and I say, well, you know what, I want to set up a car manufacturing plant, they have to look at me differently. Has she done it before? What is the capacity? Does she have partners? What is the bank balance? What is the capacity to repay? There are many more factors than just the idea to say, I told them I want to do this and they must give me money. So we have to understand that and build our relationships with the banks. And I think it's also the work of the bank to educate us much, much more.
That's Florence Sachikonye, who is our guest today. She's an entrepreneur. She has been in business for the last 35 years, and she's sharing her experiences personally as well as what she has observed over the years. So join us in the third and final segment of Economic Forum. We are going to be winding up our discussion about women in business or women entrepreneurship in this third and final segment of Economic Forum with our guest Florence Sachikonye, who herself is an established entrepreneur of many years. Now, Florence, when it comes to issues of getting support, you did mention that there are some schemes that people can take advantage of them, which come from government as well as other organizations. How far did you yourself actually take advantage of Trade and other organizations which actually promote goods and services outside Zimbabwe?
Thank you. I didn't go as far as that because my product was smaller. But what I would suggest is I gained a lot from the time when I was with CZI. I was with them for nearly 15 years and I rose to become vice president of CZI. That was a wonderful network base. Lots of courses came up, lots of information, lots of knowledge, where you can access grants, training programs overseas, and so forth. So
you benefited as a member?
Yes, as a member.
Yes.
Yes, that's what I wanted to say, that people must get into these organizations. They are valuable, they're professional, and they will take you somewhere. If not to C, but it will take you from A to B. I found that network till today is very worthy because it's also the people who you meet, and in exchanging the business cards maybe on the day at a particular function, it doesn't end there. They'll always call upon you for something else, or you call upon them for something else. And when you call, it's not just about money, it's about ideas, it's about bouncing ideas, it's about networking, sharing a product or competition and so forth. So I would urge people, whether it's men or women, to join those type of organizations. There was IBDC those days.
Yes.
There was...
you joined it as well?
Oh, yes, I was in there. There was ZNCC, and there are different aspects. There's the banking, there's Consumer Council, there's various sections. You choose what suits you, right? And also you go in with an open mind that you are there to learn something, right? And you will learn something because this is information and courses that will be offered to all.
Well, what's interesting about your tenure at CZI is actually rising to be a vice president. What were the contributory factors? You must have been very vocal, very active.
Yeah, vocal I was, trust me. Yes. But
you raised issues.
Oh yes, real issues, right? And sometimes issues that support government, and sometimes issues that don't support government. You have to be bold enough to do that. And when you don't support government, it doesn't mean you hate them. But what you're saying is that let's look at this issue like this or like that. So that you
giving suggestions.
Yes, obviously, right? And you come up at these breakfast meetings with something solid. So be part of a decision-making process. I was that all the time. I was also very committed to the organization. The subscriptions were very high, for example, but we paid our subscriptions because you knew at the end of it is the value that you got out of it. When I tried to draw other women to come into it, the first thing they wanted to know, it had nothing to do with money. I didn't make money and I was never given money. In fact, I spent money because you had to pay for your own trip to go to Big Falls, your own trip to go to Nyanga, but it's the value you extract from that. And today, I'll gladly say that I'm riding on that value because it's worthy.
I think having said that, let's go straight to social networking because social networks are very important. If you build them well, they will realize these profits that you're talking about in the long run. Say something about the importance of them. We have already alluded to them, that at times you go there, not because you're going to get money immediately, but you build them.
I would rather say not social networks. I would say business networks. Yeah, but social, yes. But business, is strict, is proper, is professional. And people get to know you. What do? They invite you to their premises. Some are manufacturers, some are exporters. They let you know what they're doing. They do presentations, they call you. They have investors, they call you. There was a time when we had a lot of Chinese who were coming into the country with solid investment. You're invited to be part of that grouping. You may not have a direct contribution yourself, but you're learning all the time. So I always say to people, learn, and read.
Yes. The reading culture, is it there? Is there anything to read about, uplifting yourself as a woman entrepreneur?
Always. Read about other people, be motivated, be inspired. You can do online courses, whether it's marketing. There are always new ideas coming through. There's always something to learn. There's always someone with something to share. What they share may be good, it may not be good, but we're all learning something from it. It's not every business that becomes a success. And for me, the best stories are the people who did not become successful. Because they'll be honest enough to tell you why.
They did not come successful.
Yes. And then you learn from those lessons. Learning from successful people, no, I did this and then, I just did that. Learn from the people who are not successful. Because second time, third time round, they will make it because they realize the mistakes and they will definitely improve on it.
And you can also take it from where they failed and actually make it.
Absolutely, right? Or they'll tell you, for example, don't go into partnership. They say, but why? Partnership sounds a good thing. And they say, there are two things in business you don't board. Two ships you don't board. Friendship and partnership. Because one of them will sink.
Yes. Finally, and very briefly, skills development. At times you go into a business and you want to learn. You've talked about reading and so forth. And you also want to train your manpower.
Yes.
The importance of skills development.
Very important. You could be the best that you are, give the best that you can, but if you don't have staff that are at par, they can really let you down. In your presence or in your absence. So you must train your staff all the time. Some don't really have the potential, so you must train them correctly to the level that you see they can reach. Some have a good education, some don't. But I have found that the staff members who come in with the least education have always grown to become my best staff. Because they're willing to learn, they're hungry. And I send them for evening courses, weekend classes, and you find that they appreciate it. And as I said, those who come from a background where they don't have are the ones who are really hungry and passionate, and they will always excel.
Well, it's always good to be hungry and passionate for success. Yes. That's Florence Sachikonye. She's an entrepreneur. She started off in media and went into entrepreneurship 35 years ago, and she's still excited about that. She was our guest today on Economic Forum. So if you'd like to get in touch with us, you can do so on the numbers that are showing on your screen. If you'd like to engage with us and also bring back the people like Florence Sachikonye here to share ideas with you, you can do that on the social media platforms that again are flashing on your screen. If you have missed some of the episodes of the program, you can actually view them on our YouTube channel, which is Economic Forum Zimbabwe. So on behalf of our guest, Florence Sachikonye, an entrepreneur, this is John Masugu wishing you happy viewing.